Okay.
Welcome to the Whiteside Family Association, and our guest today is Nancy Torphy. Nancy is a member of the Whiteside Family Association and has done her research on our family. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you. And welcome to all of you who might be here for this introduction class. We come from the family of Whiteside with all of its spellings, and this is the thing that has brought us together. Hopefully, this introduction will give us all information about just how to find out more about us. You may have joined the Whiteside Facebook page, curious to see just how many Whitesides you could find, or you may have found the Whiteside Family Association, wondering if you could learn something about your family background, and then found the whole thing seemed too difficult to begin or just too mysterious. Genealogy sometimes starts out sounding quite mysterious. But you still have questions, and hopefully we can provide some information and the hope that will get you on your way. The promise is that we will keep this as simple as possible for your early attempt. I don't want to confuse you too much from the beginning, so there are a few basics. As you start out, be sure and write everything down. I have a very basic and ancient family tree form and a family group record, which I am going to figure out sharing with all of you at some point when this is finished. It works well, and when you're beginning your research, you'll find you can use it over and over and over again. I have used it and recopied it so many times, it looks rather pathetic, but it works. There are many electronic resources available for doing this, but I recommend waiting a bit until you've gotten your teeth into this project. Don't make it more complicated right from the beginning. Write down what you already know: your name, your birth date, your birthplace, and the same for your parents. Remember your mother's maiden name. Maiden names will haunt you forever. So never forget a maiden name. Go back as far as you are able, using whatever scraps of paper you already have. Information from your parents about your grandparents, information from your grandparents about your great-grandparents. If you don't know something, if you don't know dates or places, just write down the names. Using the family group sheet, group family members together, brothers, sisters, etc. There may be a place where you don't know a birth name, but you know a nickname. Write that down. Nicknames come back. My Whiteside grandmother, my mother's mother, was called Gaga. I forget that her name was really Lucia. Everybody called her Gaga. It's important to include that whenever I write anything about her, because that is an identifier for her. Now, there is a Whiteside that I think I have to remember right out of the gate, and that is Don Whiteside. Don Whiteside was a researcher who spent his entire life, and I mean his entire life, looking for members of the Whiteside family. He found hundreds, even probably thousands of persons, and he found many variant spellings of our Whiteside name. In order to keep track of all his discoveries, he assigned numbers to the families. These numbers are 4 digits, ranging from 0001 to 9900. And now might be the time to tell you that these numbers are an amazing resource and are also enough to make you tear out your last hair. We'll get back to the numbers, but want you to know that they exist. And if you don't have numbers, or if you're nervous about the numbers, you can overlook the numbers for a while. They'll always be out there. Now, about who this association is. The Whiteside Family Association, or WFA, is a non-commercial service maintained by a charitable trust and a group of volunteers. And I mean, we are volunteers. Annual membership is $10 US, or equal, depending on where you live. Members and it supports an extensive members research section of its website. That section contains publications, genealogies, documents, charts, and is basically the WFA library. So, the website. The WFA website includes information and research resources that include two categories. There is public research and members research. Public research provides you with an opportunity to get a sense of what the website includes. And once you are a member, then you will be able to go to the members research, which is much more extensive. Included in the public section is the following. There's a Don Whiteside publication list, which includes 85 publications that he wrote over almost 40 years. He corresponded by phone and letter with Whitesides all over the world. The man was dogged. The publications have been transcribed by WFA volunteers, and you can find them on the website. The Whiteside family numbers that I mentioned earlier tells you how the WFA is tracking all of the Whiteside families and how the search for the source and connection of the many family groups is organized. Research links. This is for serious researchers, and these pages contain web links from sites from all over the world. There are 85 websites listed in Ireland alone. Some of the websites that are there may no longer be relevant. Others have probably been added. So there are always a number of research links to use. And then there's information about the Whiteside DNA project. I'll tell you, it's something that I got involved in right at the very beginning when I joined the association, because the importance of DNA testing was just becoming more easily available to people around the world. I could then only involve myself in the Y DNA project, and Y, you may or you will know, is only available through the men in the family. In order to participate in this program, I had to find a male cousin directly related to me and who went back through the male line. I found a grandson of a brother of my grandmother, and he is truly in my family the only person who could do this donation of DNA. The DNA project, you'll hear more and more about it, is very, very important to all of us. When you get to the member research section on the website, it contains current research projects. There are all kinds of people who are working on Whiteside research, and they're always looking for more information and for more helpers. The TNG genealogies, which is a link to a website on the website, which displays data from Whiteside genealogies that have been submitted by members. I submitted a large hunk of my Whiteside genealogy to this TNG website. And the Whiteside family numbers, which is again mentioned in the public information section as well as the research section. And then the tree charts and indexes. This is an incredible amount of information, which was collected by Don Whiteside, and it includes not only the United States and Canada and Oceania, the United Kingdom, and most truly of Ireland, both the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. Many of the United States charts, which are by state, have been indexed, and this project is ongoing. And then family numbered documents. And this includes reports that were created by various members about their own family. There's one from me there on my family, which is 1015. Other documents by location, further contributions from WFA members, and then again, Don Whiteside's publications. So you can see that there's so much information out there that you can look at to get you going, but you have to Just pick a place where you feel comfortable beginning, and that's probably with your name. You don't need to go back any distance. Start, as I said, with your name, with your parents, with your grandparents, and work that way. You will begin to find yourself understanding exactly what it is that you're doing. I'd like to share with you now an example of how I tracked down my Whiteside family using the information, only information I found on the WFA website. I'll keep this brief, but I want you to see that someone knowing very little about what she was doing was able to work her way through the mysteries of family numbers and Don Whiteside tree charts. My mother's mother is my Whiteside connection. She was Lucia Whiteside, maiden name, Thrasher, married name, and she was born in Iroquois County, Illinois, May 27th, 1889. I was lucky to know quite a bit about Gaga. That's what she was called. Remember those nicknames, as I knew her well and knew that she had information that she had collected about her family. But I wanted to try and get back further than what she had done. In the information I got from Gaga, I found the name of her great-grandfather, Samuel Hayes Whiteside. His place of birth was listed as Rockbridge County, Virginia. Armed with this information, I went to the Virginia tree charts in the website for the first time and learned several things. One of the things isn't such a good thing to share with you. Don Whiteside's work exists in handwritten form, and he had the worst penmanship imaginable. However, the man was very orderly. In the upper left-hand corner of each page, I found the name of the county in Virginia that I was looking for, and I went through each of the pages of Rockbridge County. At about page 132 of the Virginia charts, there was my Samuel. Of information on a page. I think as he worked through it, his penmanship just got smaller and smaller. But next to Samuel Whiteside's entry, I found Cincinnati, Hamilton County, Ohio. I repeated my search again, and this time I went to the Ohio charts. And to Hamilton County, and there I found Samuel, his wife, and their children. By then I realized that the upper left-hand corner listed family numbers and locations. I also realized that the family numbers changed sometimes, but I was able to disregard this because I realized I could do more if I didn't depend totally on the number as assigned. I could tell from that information when the family moved on to Illinois, and so I did it again. I had found Virginia, page 132, Ohio, page 45, and now I found Illinois, page 157. I was thrilled to see on that Illinois page a reference to me because I was able to talk with Don a couple of times on the telephone, and he gave me credit for the information that he had found out from me. That man was relentless in his search for Whitesides. So this is a good place to stop. I hope I've given you a simple way of getting into the research resources available through the website and a way for you to begin. And as you do that, you can begin to connect to other people working on the name of Whiteside. As I'm ending, I want you all to know a few things, though. Whitesides apparently only used the names of William and Samuel and Thomas when they were naming their sons. So you will find a lot of Williams in particular. Come up with a way that you can zero in on the Williams you're looking for. Remember that names were repeated from generation to generation. But all I can say now is give it all a try and have a good time with it. It really is fun, and it is like doing a very complicated jigsaw puzzle. But it will someday begin almost to be finished. Thank you.
Nancy, baby.
They came the closest I can find from Northern Ireland. They were people who may have come originally from Lancashire or come from Scotland, and they worked on the plantations in Northern Ireland, County Armagh, County Antrim. In my father's family, a whole other thing, County Fermanagh. There were lots of us, those Ulster Scots, or the Scotch Irish that came in those early days.
Were they fleeing something like the famine, or were they fleeing religious?
I think, well, I heard it described to me once by someone. The British, who owned all of the land in Ireland, they treated the Irish very badly, but I think that the English and Scots began to realize they weren't treated any better. They weren't Church of England. They were, for the most part, probably Presbyterians or Methodists. And they saw this was not going anywhere for them. Like so many people who came over here, they wanted land and they could get land. They just had to come here to get the land.
What was your first introduction to the Whiteside Family Association? Was it because Don called you, or you seen it somewhere?
I heard from a man who is sadly no longer living. I was trying to make a contact, and I found Warren Whiteside, who lived in Delaware, and he was one of the founders of the association. Also, I wrote a letter to Don Whiteside. I found his name in a book in a library, and I wrote him a letter, and he answered, and we had several very nice phone conversations. And he said something that has stuck with me. He said he always knew he would find somebody from the Samuel line in Virginia. He knew about this line. Unfortunately, for research, my Samuel Hayes Whiteside only had one child who had children. It's a little family, and they moved into Ohio to the Cincinnati area and then on to Illinois. Many of the Whitesides went on into the South, into North and South Carolina. There are many, many Whitesides. And I was sort of the northern part of the family, I guess.
You specialize in certain research for the WFA. Can you explain that to us a little bit?
I missed the beginning of what you said.
I said you specialize in certain research for the WFA. Can you explain that to us?
One of the things that I've been working on recently, which has been very interesting, is, again, using the resources from the WFA website. I've managed, and with questions that I had about so many Whitesides being in the South, using the Whiteside Family Association website and using the federal census, I've been looking at the subject of Whitesides as slave owners and have found many, many, and some with large plantations in Mississippi, South Carolina, owning 100 slaves. And that has really, really, really been an interesting project for me. And I recently posted something on the Facebook page, the Whiteside Facebook page, to share that information.
And how long have you been a member of the WFA so far?
I was going to look that up before we started this, and now I can. I've probably been a member about 15 years or a little bit less. I wasn't in at the very beginning, but I heard about the meetings from Warren, and the first time I met the group met in Branson, Missouri. The meetings, I say, used to be quite large, and many people would come. And then I know what happened is that the availability of genealogical information on the internet became easy for people to access. And unfortunately, I think it sort of cut out the opportunity people had for being together and sharing information. And I think that's something I hope we can begin to encourage people to stay involved with the organization and share with other people. Come to meetings when you can, or Zoom, when we could set up Zoom meetings so that people can begin to share information. You can look things up, but it takes some digging to find the answers, and we can help each other with that.
What were your positions? What position did you have? Like, how many positions did you ever cover?
For the organization,
Yeah.
I have been the secretary for quite a few years, and now I confess I'm going to be the president. But I think because there aren't so many of us on the board, and it's sort of my turn. But I will, starting with our fall meeting, I will be the president.
And how do you communicate mostly with other members? Is it internet, or I know you meet every 6 months or so, but the other times, well, how do you communicate?
Using email, texting people, sometimes calling, and talking on the telephone, because sometimes speaking on the telephone is a good thing to do. I've made some very good friends, and I confess these last 2 years have been very hard, I think, on all of us, hard on all of us. Recently, we met again in Hagerstown. A few of us were able to meet in person, and it was really nice to be together. And I've gotten to know some terrific Whiteside friends and family members. I mean, I think we are all cousins in this.
Well, there's new projects coming up, and can you tell us about one of the projects?
Well, one of the things that's happening, I should begin by saying there is a great deal of printed information that was on Whitesides. And I first, I guess, should identify myself as a retired librarian. I was a public librarian for many years. And I see the importance of libraries and the importance of having places for information that everyone can access. And one of the things that I worked on a number of years ago was a lot of material that had been Don Whiteside's material. And the WFA had acquired it after his death. And we worked on the project of getting it all donated to the Allen County Public Library in Indiana. Allen County Public Library is in Fort Wayne, which is in the northeastern corner of Indiana. And it's a wonderful public library, just a general public library. But a number of years ago, the director was strongly interested in genealogy, and they began a collection which it rivals other, it's not maybe the biggest collection in the country, but it's certainly the second largest, I think, collection of genealogical material. So we worked on that. Now we find out that there is a new collection of material from a man named Foster Clay Whiteside, who had we're beginning to talk about things being shipped on pallets. I never thought about shipping things. So this summer or into the fall, there will be an opportunity for some of us to get together and try to get some of this sorted out. And there certainly will be other materials that we will be able to donate again to the Allen County Public Library. And so it's very exciting. It's time consuming, but it is a wonderful thing to have this material in a single place, so that all people with looking at Whiteside could have access to this material.
So if people wanted to get in touch with you or members of the committee or researchers, how do they do that?
I can go, I think our names are all included in the newsletter, or they're on the website. So they could look for board members and click on our names that way. So I think we're easy to get in touch with. If you look for, research help, going to that section of the website, and then just request getting in touch, being able to make contact with me by name, that would be just fine. And I would certainly get back to you as soon as I heard.
Well, that's it. Thank you very much for your participation in our first video. And hopefully we'll be talking again. And thank you again for the Whiteside Family Association. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
All right.